Hello, great people. The Nigerian Senate, as expected, has taken steps to regulate social media. The Nigerian Data Protection Act 2023, the amendment of it has scaled second reading. And if the Senate President, Godswill Akpabio Senate, is anything to go by, this bill can get passed within an eye twinkle. It can get passed any moment from now, especially if what is happening in the polity now is anything to go by. Are you surprised that a bill that was passed in 2023, just 2 years ago, is that the Senate is now seeking to amend that bill, which at the end of the day will stifle social media? I will tell you why it shouldn't come to you as a sub. I will give you three instances, but before I give you that three instances, what is the Senate trying to achieve? They are saying that WhatsApp, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, all the notable social media should have office in Nigeria. And they're also saying that bloggers, all these Instablog, Yaba Left, these big blogging platforms should have verifiable office in any state capital in Nigeria, and they should have a verifiable list of employees. That means that government knows where you are operating from, and they knows who they are, and they know who are your employees, who you are working with. Now, let me leave that aside and tell you the reason why the Senate is taking this action. I'll give you three reasons. First, the sponsor of the bill, Senator Nedi Nwoko, had been at the receiving end of the public backlash, in the sense that you will recall that recently there are reports, or what you can call some kind of like fake news, because some people said, oh, Ned Nwoko has divorced his wife. Why that is not true, that he has divorced Regina Daniel. And people have always been coming for Ned Nwoko, and people have always been criticizing his desire for so many women that originate from different continents. So people have that originate from different countries rather. So people have always been criticizing him for that, and Senator Ned Nwoko is now sponsoring this bill. So in other words, he himself is a beneficiary of it, despite the fact that the constituency that he represents will need so many things. But what Ned is seeking is something that would apparently benefit him as somebody that has received backlash from the social media. Now, who is the second person that is meant to benefit from this action? It is the Senate President, Godswill Akpabio. You will recall that the case of Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, the harassment allegation and the eventual suspension of Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, has generated a lot of reaction, with people criticizing the Senate President, Godswill Akpabio. So Akpabio also supporting this bill at this point in time should not come to you as a surprise. And the third instance that I said I will give you, if you are surprised, is that of the President, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. You will recall that Seyi Tinubu made a video that his father is the best president that Nigeria ever had. That had been generating a lot of backlash for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And also, the copper Uche Ugwamaye, popularly called Ray, made a video calling the president a terrible president, the worst that Nigeria has ever had. And this is generating a lot of reaction on social media, with people speaking about the reality of the economy and casting aspersion on the president. So anything that affects somebody like Ned Nwoko, that affects the Senate President number 3, and affects the number 1, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, of course you should expect that a bill will be coming, a bill to kind of like tame the Nigerian populace, to tame their voice, will come up in no distant time. You can never get disappointed in the Akpabio-led Senate when it comes to issues like that. Now let us look at one flaw that Senator Ned Nwoko made while he was presenting his argument. And that is, Nwoko said that Nigeria ranks second globally in social media users. Well, I find this to be false, because if you look at it, Nigeria is not the second most populated country. And countries that have population more than Nigeria, countries like China, these countries, they have better access to social media than Nigerians. Nigerians that lack access to portable water to use in the market, Nigerians with the level of poverty, Nigerians that usually off data on their phone. So if you look at it, Nigerians do not have access to free internet, affordable internet, than that of other countries. So Nigeria cannot rank second globally in social media user, because there are countries that are more populated than Nigeria and that have access to internet than Nigeria. The internet is even more affordable than it is in Nigeria. Now, what I find interesting is that I don't want to use the word saddening. Is they said bloggers should have offices in any state capital. That means that you know that people that cannot afford to go and pay the normal TV because the TV is widely largely regulated. Now people will go to the bloggers to kind of like leak out informations, and from there the thing can go viral and it can be like a way of advocacy. What this means, if they say bloggers should have offices in Nigeria, it is a way of dealing with bloggers, the same bloggers that these politicians usually pay, the same influencers that they pay during the election, the same platforms that they use to right to power. It's the same platform that they want to now regulate illogically, because if you look at it, if you regulate all these bloggers and all that, then in 2027 you still go back to pay those bloggers. But why are you regulating them now? You are trying to regulate them because the renewed hope that you promised, the change that you promised, you are not fulfilling it, and people are now expressing their views. For instance, this lady Ushe Ugwamaye that criticized Bola Ahmed Tinubu as a terrible president, it is all these bloggers that made that thing to go viral. So in this kind of instance, if you have a verifiable office, government will just come and arrest you to say that you kind of like you cause an embarrassment to the president, or you cause an embarrassment to the government. That is what they will do. So if Instablog made that video to go viral, then they will just come and pick Instablog for causing embarrassment to the government, and they can shut Instablog office, they can arrest Instablog staffs, and at the end of the day, they can kind of like twist Instablog and begin to silence dissenting voices in the politics. So if you look at it, that that sees to that bloggers should have offices is not a good. And if you look at it, what do some of these bloggers make from all these blogging anyway, that they would now afford to kind of like employ staff, rent offices, furnish it and all that? You see that this argument is not realizable. And with the high rate of unemployment, if they now stop people from doing what they like to do, then you may see that it may also lead to an increase in criminality. Now let us go to something that I find right, but then there is an international dimension to it, and it may bring trouble for Nigeria. They said that that all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, should have offices in Nigeria. Well, it is good for them to have offices in Nigeria, for them to have physical presence in Nigeria. But then again, the Nigerian Senate is acting as if Nigeria is still in maybe 1960. What do I mean by that? The world is now a global village. The world right now is a global village whereby remote jobs are springing up. So at a time where remote jobs are springing up, where they are where people are operating via virtual offices, you now want to create a platform where you now want to force people to begin to erect office structures in Nigeria. And if the argument of Binance is anything to go by, the Binance executives that were arrested, Nigerian government will want to invade all these offices and be forcing them to have access to the data of people on such platform, and that itself will be highly resisted, because Nigeria will not be able to operate within the global regulatory framework. Nigeria will want to use high-handedness. Oh, they're speaking against the president, then you want to arrest YouTube, you want to arrest Facebook, you want to kind of like intimidate Instagram, harass TikTok and all that, and that is how we bring consequences. The bill, to my mind, is an elite protection mechanism, and that is why I gave you the instance of Ned Nwoko, Senate President Tinubu Akpabio, and President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So I see it more as an elite protection mechanism, because there are a lot of issues that needs attention in Nigeria that are not being addressed, and these platforms, as like I said, are useful for them during the election, but now they want to clamp down on it. So if they eventually have those offices, we'll just have a situation whereby government will just be invading those offices and be intimidating and harassing their staff. But what I can say is that Nigerian government needs to be very careful, because this bill that they are talking about, have they thought about the Trump effect? Have they thought about the Trump effect? In the sense that the world now is a global village, and Nigeria is already in the bad books of the US government in terms of Christian persecution, ethno-religious killings. The police does not have a good image, the military, there's a lot of issues. The personality of the president. And most of these platforms are headquartered in the United States. YouTube is in the US, Facebook, US, I think Instagram as well, WhatsApp. So most of these notable social media platforms, except TikTok that is in, I think, China, and they are trying to sell 50% stakes to the United States. It was Trump that just gave them the grace, and the United States is seeking to buy 50% out of it before TikTok can be allowed to operate fully in the United States. So if you are now seeking a regulation, if you are now seeking to go hard on a company that originates from the United States in this era of Donald Trump, a Donald Trump that is always quick and swift to impose crippling sanctions on countries. You see what you can see what Trump is doing to South Africa at the moment. So I hope that the Nigerian Senate is thinking of the effect, because when you decide to force those, even if you pass that bill and you decide to force those platforms to come and establish office in Nigeria and all that, have you thought of the Trump effect? The Trump effect will the way that it will affect Nigeria. In fact, Trump will hit Nigeria hard, fast, and strong. Now, it is good to have office in Nigeria, as I said, at least to create jobs and all that. But then, why I will not support them having office in Nigeria if they can function without office in Nigeria is because Nigerian government will use it as an opportunity to intimidate, to harass all these social media platforms. But I support that they should be paying tax. If people are paying those social media platforms for advert, then they can also be paying tax to Nigeria. But that of physical office, I am strongly against it. My position is clear. It's been an interesting time with you on this episode of Politing with Dr. Omoshola. Do want to subscribe, turn on your notification button, catch up with my past videos, and of course, I have great, interesting videos coming your way. Till I see you again, always remember that I love you all sincerely.